no fluff, no filter handbook for turning breakdowns into breakthroughs. She walks her talk, owns every mistake, and tells it exactly how it is. Woo!
God, I sound like a right nutter.
Well, Sarah,
I am.
that's why you're here. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. I think you might have travelled the furthest to be here today, just
From up north.
up the northwest
north.
Yorkshire. But we met again like almost 2 years ago, and over a very nice dinner, you told me your story. And first of all, I couldn't really get past the private investigator bit. Like, tell me more about that. What do I need to look out for? But Sarah, your story is amazing. And just tell everybody else about how you started and why.
In property.
Yeah. That decision you made.
Well, I was on a surveillance job. Being a private investigator, by the way, is nowhere near as glamorous as it sounds. To sit there outside this dodgy bloke's house for 8 hours, unable to go for a wee or anything. Just camera on, waiting for somebody to come out. Another dodgy bloke. I won't tell you a story on camera. But anyway, bored, stupid, and just downloaded an audiobook. And it was a book called Money. And I didn't realise that it was actually all about property development. So by the time, I'd finished this 8 hours of listening to this audiobook, cogs were turning. I went home very excited. Sean, guess what? We're going to do this now. Stop what we're doing. We're doing property. Right. All in. So I'd sent, between then and the next month, I'd listened to all of the books by Rob Moore. And his business partner Mark, and then I sent him a message and said, look, thank you very much, Rob, I just want to say thanks, you've opened up my eyes to a whole new world. I'm a property developer, I'm a private investigator, listening to your books, which he thought was hilarious. Messaged me back, said, I'm going to talk about that on my podcast, and sent me some free tickets to go down to his thing. Of course, nothing's free. When you get there, I ended up spending 50 grand on the Plutonium Plus package that I never had. I didn't have 50 grand. I'd gone down the day before, arms crossed, tight Yorkshire woman. There's not a chance I'm opening my purse for that person. But I did. 50 grand on multiple credit cards later. And the next thing I was in Grand Cayman doing a training course. And then roll on 6 years. And from scratch, we'd built a portfolio worth 22 million of high-end holiday homes, luxury hotels all around Yorkshire. And it was, I think at the time, I didn't realise what an achievement it was, because I'm just like blinkered. I'm an obsessive person. I'm either obsessively doing something or not doing it. And I was obsessively doing property at that time. And that was it. I was all in. I was just so blinkered, and people kept saying, oh God, you're doing well, aren't you? I'm like, no, I haven't finished yet. Let me just crack on. But it was quite a massive achievement. I was, I don't know what I was trying to do really, prove myself as a woman in a very male dominated industry, or just,
When you took that risk of spending that 50,000, and I know you told me like you maxed out credit cards and everything, didn't you, to go there? Did that actually drive you in terms of, I've got to make this work because there is so much debt now?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like being uncomfortable to make you move. The worst place to be is in the comfort zone. Nobody ever gets rich from the comfort zone, and it is so true.
It is the most dangerous place of all.
Not that I would, I wouldn't recommend that anybody else does that. But I know that I'm the kind of person that if I put myself into a position where I am uncomfortable and I have to do something, I'm going to bloody well do it. There's no chance of failure. We've got to do it. So it worked for me to do that.
I think there was also the fact that there was a great opportunity at that time to do that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was also about grasping the fact that, hold on, there's an opportunity now, and I want to be part of that.
Yeah, there was just there's a gap in the market as well, in the sort of holiday-let market around Yorkshire. Me and my friends often, and Sean would often, book a holiday home and go for a walk, book a holiday home, and you'd get there and it'd, smell a bit damp. Looks like it's been furnished by somebody's nan's furniture that's been stuck in the garage since the 1980s. And I thought, you know what, we want. There's so many people that come to Yorkshire. Yorkshire actually gets more visitors than all of the Disney parks. It's amazing, isn't it? But true. But we're not catering for them. So we thought, you know what, let's uplift Yorkshire. My husband Sean is a very loyal Yorkshireman, and that was his one vision in this, because he's not the business, he's not, he's not naturally entrepreneurial, he's not really a businessman.
Yeah.
But he went, I want to bring more people to Yorkshire, to our lovely God's own county.
Yeah.
So that was the mission really. We set out to make a difference. And it was such a big task then, I suppose. It wasn't just about us just building a portfolio for us. It was, let's change Yorkshire and make it fabulous.
Yeah, and you did do that.
Big mission.
You did do that in terms of the quality of your product. But when you took that £50,000 out to go and learn how to do this, did you have a big vision in mind, or did you just think? Did you have in mind that you would create the level of property portfolio that you have done?
No.
Or did you just think, no, I'm going to learn how to do this, and maybe we might buy one place?
Oh, no, I never thought it was going to be one.
Yeah.
Treat property like you treat wine, my love, It's never one, is it?
No.
It's never just one. I always knew it was not going to be one. I always wanted to build a legacy for my girls. I wanted them to have a head start, and that's what it was all about.
That was the
really.
driver.
That was the driver.
Is that what made you take the risk then?
Yeah,
really, for the girls?
Absolutely. Yeah. I just, I could see that other people were doing it. I could see other people's success. You know, I did my due diligence on these people that had written these books and made sure they knew what they were talking about first. You
saw Rob's 7 sports cars in his back drive.
I did. Yeah.
This works.
And I thought, do you know what? That's why I thought, get this course, get the most expensive one there that's actually got the people at the top of the business doing the actual training. Yeah. Because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be, in for a penny, in for a pound. I want to be trained by the best in the business and make sure I've got that, that strength behind me to go forward with it. But there was definitely a niche in the market. There was even in the ranks of progressive property, with all the trainings that they did, they taught us about serviced accommodation, but there was nobody doing high end furnished holiday let training. There just wasn't, So we kind of had to carve out our own niche and find our own path through, in that market specifically.
It's a really good lesson though, the fact that you just said yes to the opportunity. And you did it before you were ready and learnt how to do it along the way.
Yeah.
But you created this success, and then something happened, didn't it? Shit happened.
Shit always happens. Yeah. When I were a kid, my grandma used to say to me, "You're just like your father. You could fall in a barrel of shite and come out covered in gold dust." And that saying,
it's a good job, isn't it?
That saying has stuck with me throughout my life, and there's always been little barrels of shite here and there, learn to negate them. But this one was a proper big barrel of shite. So we'd already, to be fair, we'd got into property and everything were going swimmingly. And then obviously COVID hit, which is not particularly good for a hospitality business. We had to shut the doors. All the bookings came to a stop. We still had loads of developments to finish. So we were struggling. And then we came out the other side, and we just had to borrow just 1.2 million just to get through the other side.
Just 1.2 million.
We had to borrow 1.2 just to get through the other side of COVID to survive. And then we thought, it's all right, because we stuck it on extra bridging loans, secured it on the properties, thought we'll get to the other side and then we'll be fine. We'll just refinance everything. Easy peasy. Not so, because then that budget happened, trebled our mortgage rates overnight, and holiday let mortgages just stopped. Nobody was offering them for 5 months. When they did come back, they were at 10%, which was the same as what the bridging loans were that we were already stuck on. But we still managed to keep developing. We managed to hang on to the seat of our knickers and just get through to the end of 2023. And we'd opened up by that point an emporium in Leeds City Centre, sort of retail showroom space where people could come in, see an events planner, book a wonderful holiday.
Which is a really great innovative idea, isn't it? Nobody else that really, do
travel
they?
agents were closing down and we were opening up. But you should always, do the opposite.
It's very different about how you set that up anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fact you can go and try the bed upstairs is quite unusual.
It is in the boudoir. Yeah, we've got our own little boudoir.
She doesn't rent it out by the hour.
Only 5 minute darlings.
But everything was going really, really well for you,
everything
wasn't
seemed
it?
to be going well, and we thought, right, we knew the interest rates were going to come back down again, we knew mortgage products were going to come back to life, and we thought going into 2024 this is fantastic. So unfortunately our ops manager at the time, Mark, who'd been with us for 5 years, lived in Manchester and didn't want to work in Leeds, so he took voluntary redundancy. We employed somebody else, he trained them up. What we didn't realise at the time was that person that he trained up was a fraudster and a gambling addict, and he, within the space of a 3-month period, diverted £120,000 in funds. Basically, so but bear in mind we were already on our asses a little bit. We were just waiting for this big break, and
You're waiting for the rates to drop.
Yeah, because we'd already been
yeah.
hammered with the market. So we didn't have a big slush fund in the bank. We didn't have 120 grand to buffer this. And what happened next was, we basically 120 grand went missing in the quiet. Well, it was the end of December. Usually December's a very busy month, and it was a very busy month, and it usually sees us through January and February, which is the lowest season in hospitality. And 52 grand went missing in December, and we just didn't have. We paid the bills.
That was
in
on
December.
top of the 100.
No, it was part of it. It was
yeah.
the first chunk of it that we
okay.
noticed. So we were 52 grand light in the bank at the end of December, and we're like, shit, what's happened? We've got enough money to pay the bills, but we haven't got a float to see us through. And we thought it was booking.com, because we get most of our bookings come from booking.com. 3 times the year before, those buggers haven't paid us, and I think there were 4 weeks we went trying to get money out of them once. So we just immediately blamed booking.com. I brought Mark back in. He was doing audits in the background. We could not see where this money had gone. It was showing that everything had been paid. Everybody had paid. We were like, well, the amount in the bank versus what it's showing on our channel manager is there's no similarities there at all. Anyway, we bounced all of our mortgages in January and February. Middle of February, we found that the person that we'd employed had set up 6 sum-up payment card terminals, all in our business name, paying out to 3 of his personal bank accounts, and he'd been contacting all of our customers who booked on booking.com and Airbnb and asking them to cancel, and sending them out to cancel, book direct with him for a discount, and sending them payment links that were all paying directly into his own bank account. Unbelievable. And how would you know that anyone could even do that? As a non-director of a business, set up 6 terminals in the business name, and then for those to actually be in the business name but paying out to somebody's personal bank account, not even related to the business.
Yeah, it's so difficult to even set up a bank account in your own name, in your own business, not alone somebody else doing it. So at what point did you find this out? At what stage?
It was the middle of February. I think it was 24th of February we fired him. And it was actually about something different. My PA Lou had sent him some money to buy some Prosecco, and then this Prosecco never arrived, and he kept making excuses about where it was. And in the end, she phoned the supplier, and he'd never put the order in. So I pulled him in with the manager from the Burgoyne Hotel, Simon. I dragged him over to support me on this, to sort of fire him. He denied all knowledge, said he could prove his innocence, went to get a bank statement, came back with a bank statement 2 hours later, which we thought he's never going to come back with a bank statement, trying to show us that he'd paid this money across to this wine company. And we were like, that's just a transaction. It doesn't show it going to a wine company. And he was like, no, they sent me a thing that said send it there. So I got them on the phone on loudspeaker with him there. The wine company were like, no, love, we haven't received that amount. I was like, are these your bank details? No, love, they're not. And he was absolutely delusional. They're fraudsters. I was like, they're not fraudsters. You've stolen that money. Anyway, I took his bank statement off him, and the next morning, I just felt inclined to look at it. And I'd also seized his laptop as well, which was full of Bet365 all over it, by the way. The next morning, I just picked up his bank statement, and at the top, I noticed it was only a part statement. And had a few dates on it, but at the very top, in December or January, anyway, whatever month it was, it correlated with our money going missing, but there was £52,000 in to his account and 55,000 back out again.
Wow.
And I thought, that's where the money is. I don't know how it's got there, because he had no access to the bank accounts. Obviously, I didn't know about the sum up at this point, but I just rang the police immediately. And it was a difficult time, but that wasn't the worst bit, really. That was just the starter. That was like the catalyst of it, because having bounced the mortgage payments as a property company, bear in mind when you're in property, you've got to nurture your credit score like it's your baby.
Yeah.
I mean, mine and Sean's credit scores had been immaculate for years, always excellent. We knew we had 9 million or something in equity in our properties. We knew we could pull it out at any time. As soon as your credit score goes tits up, we couldn't get any money out of anything. We had 2 big developments ongoing. The Burgoyne Hotel was one of them, the Secret Garden House in Leyburn, big manor house, 7-bedroom with a separate coach house. They were mid-development, and the funds were due in. And 2 days before the funds landed, everything got pulled. everything got pulled. The finance fell through all over the place. So we had 1.5 million in collapsed funding that fell through. We couldn't pay people, we couldn't pay tradespeople for the work that they'd already done. We couldn't get the developments finished. It was just an absolute chaotic nightmare.
And I know that you really struggled at this point.
Yeah.
But I also have had the pleasure of visiting the Burgoyne, and I've seen how you interact with your staff. So it must have been such a shock to you, the fact that somebody you employed had done this to you.
It was a shock, because, do you know what? He'd been applying for a job with us for a year, this guy, so I felt by the time we actually gave him a job, I felt like I knew him.
Yeah.
And I almost like mothered him a little bit. I really wanted him to do well. I was really excited about him. He was much younger than me and Sean. He was 30. He had a lot of tech knowledge, which was unfortunate, but we thought it was great. We thought
that was a good thing, yes.
We thought it was great at the time. We thought it was, there was one day at that Emporium in Leeds where Sean was out on the streets of Leeds in his Yorkshire suit with his deerstalker hat, dragging people in for a free glass of champagne. And this guy, sorry, I nearly said his name then, I won't say his name for legal reasons, but this guy had sold £17,000 worth of our holidays to people that just came in off the street on that day. He was an excellent salesperson. Unfortunately, he was on 100% commission, yeah.
So Sarah, I want you to just talk us through how you dealt, because I know you ended up in hospital. You ended up like so ill, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I ended up in hospital with stress-related illnesses, which
no surprise, really.
Not really, no, because I think not just because of this, but since getting into property, like I said, I am obsessive. Before I got into property, I used to obsessively go to the gym every morning, and I was 4 stone lighter and very toned and didn't look like myself at all now. But as soon as I got into property, health got put on the back shelf completely. I think vegan sausage rolls at Greggs got invented at the same time, so I was just like stuffing my face with them on the motorway service station. I went from a very healthy lifestyle to a not very healthy lifestyle, basically. And then with all the stress on top, I've always thought that I'm a very resilient person, and mentally I am, but sometimes your body doesn't know that, and your body doesn't keep up,
especially if you've not been looking after it.
Exactly. And I just, I was just in chronic pain most of the time, horrendous pains in my chest, horrendous pains all down here, and then I ended up in hospital being tested for some really nasty things that I was sat there in this hospital waiting room being tested for something that I thought might be a terminal diagnosis, and that really was my pivot moment.
So you had in that pivot moment was born Rebellion Life,
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about that then. What made you think about doing that?
Well, I've just sat there thinking, shit, I've done this to myself here. Why am I here? Why am I sat here in this hospital waiting a potential diagnosis like that? And I thought, do you know what I've done? I've jumped onto somebody's treadmill. I've jumped onto the entrepreneurial treadmill. I've gone from actually what was quite a happy, nice life onto this treadmill, striving and driving and hustling for this future that I may not even have anymore. And that really affected me. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just not doing this, and I'm just not enjoying it. And I'm such a naturally joyful person. Joy is my thing. I love fun. I love partying. And just as I was sat there, I got a message from my friend Anne Harrod, and it said, Sarah, you were born to party and flounce. And I thought, damn right, lady, I was born to party and flounce. Why the hell am I doing this thing? If I've only got 3 months to live, would I really want to spend it doing what I've been doing for the last 6 years? And I thought, hell no, I do not. I'd loved doing all the interior design. I'd loved creating these beautiful properties, but I didn't love all this stress, and I certainly didn't love that situation there then. And I just realised, and I thought, do you know what? Even if we hadn't had the fraud, we've grown too fast. We've grown too fast without, and I've moved away.
You've not lived life whilst you've been doing it.
I've moved away from my core values, which is to always have fun in everything that you're doing, and I just thought there's got to be a different way of doing this. I thought I'm following here somebody else's path, We can all have similar goals, but the paths can be entirely different. My path, I realised that I'd veered well off it, and I was on a path of misery, doom and gloom. And I thought, I can't be there anymore. So I took my phone out at that time and I wrote this poem, and I was really angry and I was like ranting on this poem, and and I really got everything out. And then I took a little cross out of my bag that Sean had given me from Bethlehem, because he's a Catholic. And I took it into my hand and I said a prayer to real God, proper, beardy man in the sky God. And I begged and begged and begged for another chance. And I said, if I can have another chance at life now, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to turn this into a result, not just for me, but for everybody else. I'm going to come up with and design a new blueprint for business. I'm going to write a book, because I've always wanted to write a book. I felt like I was, born to be a writer. I always used to write the Christmas play at school every year. I love writing. I've written so many books that I've started, never finished one. And I thought, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to create this new thing. I'm going to spend loads of time with my kids. I'm going to have the loveliest time, and I'm going to party and flounce like there's no tomorrow. And then, obviously, I'm here now. So that wish came true, and I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. So yeah, the rebellion life philosophy is all about building a life and a business. It's a very holistic life and business design. So not separating the two from each other, because I think this is a mistake a lot of people make. They think, I'm going to, I've got my life over here and I'm going to separate it from my business over here. And then guess what? We never have any work-life balance, because you really can't separate the two. They're both essentially you. If you can have a life and a business that intertwine perfectly and complement each other, and you're bringing the love and the joy and the wonderful things and the family into business, and vice versa. That's, for me, that's success. Success was not sitting on that chair waiting a terminal diagnosis. Success, even if you took away all of the portfolio and all of that kind of stuff and all the things we'd actually achieved on paper, success is the moment when you realise that you're happy just being in the moment that you're in. Yeah.
I think what strikes me there is, like, when you're in business, you can get so busy, and I know that happens to me all the time, and you sacrifice your health. You stop going to the gym, you stop doing your morning routines and your journaling, and then before you know it, you think, like, why am I not sleeping? Why am I so stressed? Why am I feeling so ill, so in pain all the time? And it's like, sometimes you can just get caught up, because the business can feel like a drug, can't it? That next hit, that next goal. And when I get that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a breath or something. And it is about, I think, finding the ability to be able to live joyfully. Yeah. Because that's what success is to me.
Absolutely.
It's like joy and fulfillment. That is it. And I do think business is important in that, because we need to feel fulfilled, that we're achieving something.
Absolutely.
But live at the same time.
Yeah.
So Sarah, what are like the key learnings that you can, like, sum up for us in terms of your business journey? Because it's been one hell of a ride.
It has. That's just a mini snippet of it.
That's just a mini snippet of it. Like, I can't wait to get the book.
The rest of it's
Yeah.
in the book.
What are your 3 key points to us?
Right.
About creating success, because you have created phenomenal success. From sitting outside Seedy Man's house, having that idea, to what you've got now. And now you've got balance. And I presume that you're looking after your health now. And
I'm looking after my health a lot better. I've joined a gym. Step number 2 is go to it.
Yeah. you found out the same as me, that actually the membership doesn't get you fit. You've actually got to go. Yeah. So what are your 3 tips to us?
3. Well, I'd say my number 1 tip to handle life in general is to stop putting too much importance on that which isn't really important. So usually whatever it is that's causing us pain and suffering is because we've put importance on something that doesn't actually matter. That could be putting that importance on what somebody else thinks. It could be putting the importance on a property portfolio. As soon as I came to terms with last year the fact that we were probably going to lose everything, I thought we had receivers coming and everything. It was a nightmare. As soon as that I came to terms with that, I said to Sean, you know what? As long as we can pay back all of our investors, we'll be fine. We'll be absolutely fine. So we focused on that. We focused on getting all of our investors out the deal. We're still in the midst of that, I must say. We're still scrabbling a little bit to finalise all that stuff. But that was the number one thing. And then we realised that, well, you know, that we are the things that are important, you know.
Yeah.
You are the seed. You've got the blueprint inside of you to recreate this stuff a million times over. You know, people talk about net worth a lot in the business, and especially in the property world. Well, how big's your portfolio? What's your net worth? And it's all bullshit, really.
Yeah.
The only net worth that you've got is you, and that's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. And as soon as you realise that you are the precious thing in here, and the only things that's really important is your health and your family, then everything else can cock off, really, can't it? You know, it don't matter. It stops being important. And, you know, and when I thought, well, do you know what am I worried about? Well, what about my reputation in the property world? Well, who gives a two? You know, all of those people in the property world, I didn't even know them before this happened. So you stop worrying then about, you know, what those people think as well.
Yeah.
So that's my number one thing, is to just switch your focus and think about what is actually important. So if you're having a meltdown, you know, moment, just think, what is important right now? Am I safe? Am I well? Can I breathe? Am I ill? No. I've got food in my belly and somebody that loves me. Cracking. You're absolutely fine then. You know, and my other tip for staying level-headed and making good decisions in life is to chant. I do a chanting meditation every morning and every night without fail.
Wow.
Chanting meditations, everybody thinks I'm completely crackers, but I don't care. I do it wherever I am. If I'm on an aeroplane, I'll start chanting. If I'm...
Really?
It's got to be done, the chanting. I've been on holiday and had people banging on the walls. Shut up! At least have sex.
You're putting me off my rhythm. Yeah. But have you always done this, or is this something that you started after falling ill?
No, I've done it for years and years,
Right.
the chanting.
Right.
But do you know what I realised? When I actually started writing the book,
Yeah.
and I'm writing the book telling everybody what to do and how to live, and I've got onto the bit about energy. Right, chanting does it. And then I thought, shit, I ain't done me chanting for months.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's when I stopped chanting last October. Guess what? Right before I employed the fraudster. And I hadn't chanted all the way through till the following July when I was writing the book and realised, oh shit, I'm telling everybody here to chant. And have I done the chanting? Have I bugger it? But no, I used to actually host it on a chanting class, and I invite all of my mentees to join me at 7 o'clock every morning, 10 o'clock every night, and we just get on there and we just chant, sat there in our pyjamas, you know, half of them fall asleep by the end of it at the night time, but didn't matter. And I just got out of the routine of doing it. But it's just
easy done, isn't it?
Yeah, but for me, that just, it's, you know, making a noise like that, it creates a frequency within your body. And, you know, frequencies, vibrations are things, you know, they really do matter. Yeah. And if you set yourself up on the right vibration, the right frequency, the chanting meditation that I do in the morning sets you onto the right frequency for manifesting. So as I'm doing it, it's 20 minutes and I just think about everything that I want to happen that day. If I'm going, no matter what I'm doing that day, I send love as well. I send out love to the dentist, send love to the people I might see in the shop, send love to that person I really don't want to go have a meeting with, but I've got to go anyway, so I'm going to send them love in advance, and then you're more likely to be well received when you get there, you know, and sort of go through the day ahead, focus on peace, love and joy. If I can't think of what I actually want to manifest, it's just peace, love and joy, peace, love and joy. And then the one on a night, which is kind of the opposite really. It's a winding down chant, and that's the chant of Om. And Om is, you know, we just surrender everything to the universe. So whatever's gone on during the day, whatever's wound you up or got you excited, you know, no matter what you're feeling, just hand it all over to the universe on a night, let it take it from you, and then you can get a good night's sleep before all the mayhem starts again in the morning.
Before the chanting starts in the morning. Yeah. And what's your third tip then? I think that's only 2, isn't it?
Third tip.
Come on, Sarah.
Third tip. If you are going through a really shitty time, this is my tip. You're probably not going to expect me to say this, but stay away from alcohol. Because it doesn't help. Like alcohol, I love having a drink. I love partying and flouting and staying up all night for 2 nights in a row sometimes. I love it. I've got no off switch. But do that from a joyful place.
Yeah.
You know, the worst thing to do for resilience is when you're going through tough times is to hit the bottle. you know. And I have done that as well, you know. I've got into the habit of just having a drink to get to sleep on a night, you know, and it's not good for you. That space is not good for you at all, you know. It's so I just generally now in life I cut alcohol out most of the time. I'll have a drink for special occasions, but that's because I have literally got no off switch. So Sean can drag me out of the garden 3 days later once I've started.
I did witness you picking up the wine bottles off the dinner tables once.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for making the time to come down here. Your story is pretty phenomenal, and I know you're a phenomenal woman. So thank you for sharing all your gems and your story. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure.